Everybody ganged on him.
Dude,
Bro.
wait, it's gonna be on my Twitch.
What?
Yeah, I'm literally going to stream it on my Twitch.
Oh, I already
What's
started
wrong?
streaming.
And your stream,
Bro.
forehead.
Are you gonna stream it
Wait,
with
who made the Among Us in MS Paint?
I mean, I assume that you wouldn't because you have a Ryzen 3 processor. So that was just my thinking. I also didn't know that you were going to stream. So
Wow.
To be fair, I haven't streamed before on this laptop, so it might. Here, let me just test it.
Wait,
Start streaming.
Who made the other
Wow.
Among Us in MS
Oh,
Paint?
wait.
that was Rune.
Rune,
What was me?
What was me?
Hi, Rune.
Someone grab
Huh?
that hamster picture.
What color did you make your
What
Among Us?
picture?
What color did you make your Among Us?
Make the hamster.
He didn't make an Among
Kirby,
Us.
you
He
know,
just
like
sent me
every
an
single
MS
Call of
Paint thing.
Duty is
I-
coming to Game Pass.
Alright, Dad,
Seriously?
you're gonna be
That's so
recording it,
hype.
right?
Yeah.
Kirby, you're recording it, right?
Yeah, I'm streaming and recording because that's what Twitch does.
Hi, chat.
Hi, chat.
Hi,
chat.
Hi, chat.
You suck.
My face won 0 viewers.
Kill yourself.
Literally.
We are the viewers. Shut up.
We are the viewers,
Yeah.
goddamn.
We the viewers.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
no,
true.
no, no.
I
I gave an order. I have to follow it.
Oh my god, wait, my friend is actually watching it. No way, it's crazy.
Oh,
Alright.
then I-
Hi, other
Hi,
Rune.
chat.
No way.
Hi,
Does
chat.
that
Is
mean
We
I
gotta
have
like
to
start
real?
putting
Everyone
speech
hop
in his
on.
chat.
Yeah, is this real?
Does this mean I have to filter myself if you're watching?
Yeah, is this
Yes,
real?
because I'm streaming to Twitch, so don't, like, say slurs.
Alright.
I'm gonna say something.
Rune, don't do it.
No,
Also, Curb, I hope you appreciate the. No,
Middle
wait,
schoolers
Dot Collins live.
saying
Okay, sorry, Curb, nothing personal, but Dot Collin is way cooler.
Damn.
Awesome.
That's crazy.
You don't have a monkey PFP, so like, you know.
Yeah, just like get him killed. What do you mean, other Rune? Huh?
I'm
Okay,
gonna
Jamie, I DM'd you the
Rune,
last
spell your
one.
name wrong.
I'm
Let's
gonna
react
quickly,
to
I'm
you.
gonna
He's
quickly
pulling his
restart my laptop. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, so
Oh,
you see the gentleman in the bottom left here? He is also named Rune.
Hi.
It gets confusing sometimes.
Oh, dude, imagine
Oh,
the
that is
bottom left.
confusing. Okay, here we go.
Rune, hop on Left 4 Dead.
Alright.
Right now, at this time.
Yeah, it hasn't started yet. We can definitely speedrun it. Curb, hop on.
Cruz, I hate to break it to you, but this is Twitch, my friend.
Hi YouTube. Hi YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
Hi YouTube.
Hi.
Wait, what am I hopping
Hi,
on?
YouTube.
Love for
Yeah,
that.
Left 4
mother.
Dead.
No, we're playing. What?
That's 2 minutes into
It hasn't started yet. No.
It's going to.
It's 1
Yeah,
minute.
going
One
to,
minute.
and we're going to hop on
I'm
Left 4 Dead.
impatient, alright? I want to start. Grr.
Jamie, plug your Twitch and announcement.
Actually,
I-
hop
well,
on Stick Fight.
We're not. So okay, we're actually not going to do that because Kurt pointed out that this computer has a Ryzen 3, and it's probably going to be so laggy. Like I can do that on my main computer, but probably not on this laptop.
I'm
It's probably gonna be
streaming
really
60 FPS, 1080p, and like the
Ben,
best audio
I gave
bitrate
up.
ever. So
Oh, Damien, you gave
Let
up?
me get
Okay, I'll
the.
like do it tomorrow. But like,
Let
I
me get
gave
the
up.
1 month.
Hunger Games.
Wait, can I get the
Yeah.
1 month
I
free?
don't have what I
Yo,
need
give me
for
1
it.
month free.
Oh, you don't have
Give me
what
1
you
month
need?
free of Nitro.
Yeah,
Nitro
I
won't
need
matter.
to go like fetch it. So
Nitro
I'ma
doesn't
do
really
it
matter.
tomorrow
Yeah, it
when
kinda
I'm not
doesn't.
having
Unfortunate.
sangria.
Oh, hey.
Huh?
Oh, hey.
Oh, hi.
Bubble dog moment.
I was about to go to
Couple
bed.
of hot.
Wait,
Oh,
Penny,
never mind.
Jericho, you're here.
Penny.
Jericho.
I'm sorry I couldn't Skype tonight, but
Jericho. Hello.
We're using a website, Other Rune.
good night, girl.
I don't know
I'll
what
see
it's
you
called
tomorrow.
exactly
Yeah, we can
because
do website. Hold up.
Jamie's doing
I
it.
need-
Not
Ooh,
rude talking to someone.
If you want to watch
Uh,
live,
one
you can just
second,
join
John.
RVC because you're in the server.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going
Okay.
on?
Guys, it's 10
Hi,
o'clock.
Jericho.
What?
I don't have Twitch.
And
It's a website. Just click the link. Curb.
Well,
Just-
I'm going
Okay.
to share my screen. So like,
Hi,
you know.
Jericho.
Face.
I
Yep, it is 10
Thank
o'clock.
you.
on Twitter at Cruz.
Listen to
is-
the fake.
Okay, Cruz, you're banned from my Twitch
I've been
chat.
playing
You spoke
Minecraft for
Portuguese.
No.
No.
Dude, that's crazy.
It's
Oh,
crazy.
time to start.
Alright, guys, we gotta hook up, bro. We gotta hear her.
We gotta
Hold up.
check.
I need
Oh,
to
damn
turn
it.
off full screen because I'm trying to play some Skyblock.
No way.
Skyblock face.
Oh my god. It's not
This is
loading. Oh my
stream.
days.
It isn't loading. No.
There we
go.
Here it is.
There we
It's
go.
okay.
You
It's
ban
loading
this
for me. We're
Nest
chilling.
Pyro person.
All right, it's loading now. Let's do this.
Yeah, we got it.
This is
Let's
crazy.
Yeah, that was my computer like crapping itself when I first started screen recording. It was like, what are you doing?
This
It'd
is
be
going
so
to
funny
be
if I died by
legendary.
Rude.
This is gonna be amazing.
I just hope I don't
So-
be the first to die.
Damien, you're not
District
dying.
1, Jaden and Ben.
I'm dying.
And then Jamie and
Oh.
Ava. Wait, is Ava in here?
Not yet.
Ava
she's
isn't.
playing
She's in the
server.
Mario Kart with her mom.
Yeah, she's playing. She's
It's okay.
playing
This is
Drunk
why
Oh.
I have it on Twitch so
Okay.
that people can watch it
Playing
later.
Minecraft right now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Having
Nice.
a
That's
sangria
crazy.
Are
right
you
now.
are you recording the voice chat too?
Yep.
Nice.
Oh, oopsies.
You guys ready?
Yeah, let's
Gamers
do
don't
it.
Bro.
Era.
TG in Germany.
I was having a sangria, so
Just to let some of you guys know,
Yeah.
these are
I feel like
so
Conrad
no,
will win.
I
I'm
feel like you
rooting
guys
for
know who
Conrad.
Manny is. Marcus is my boyfriend. Then these two are people from me, Curb, and Ben and Jaden's past.
I'm
Same with this
definitely-
dude.
How
I'm rooting for
mysterious.
Conrad.
Okay, proceed. Okay,
Hmm.
as the tributes stand on their podiums, the horn sounds. Mox runs away.
Like
Ava
if I
finds a
type-
canteen full of water.
Wait, no, I want to watch.
Nipper runs away. Vanny retrieves a trident.
Oh, let's go. That's so Vanny.
Jamie
Yeah.
and Koya fight for a bag. Jamie gives up and retreats.
Let's go.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
Not
Oh,
that
man.
bad.
That's
Koya in
what's
his
up.
bag.
Jericho, wait, who just joined?
No, the screen is so laggy. God damn it. Wait. I need to
That
watch.
was rude.
Oh, Cobble Dog.
Let 'em out.
Jericho runs away from the cornucopia.
Bro, I've been in
Herb,
this.
Decent, Germa, and Akira share everything they gathered
Germa.
before running.
Let's go, Germa!
You're
Germa.
allying yourself with Germa.
Germa!
Marcus
Marcus.
runs away. Ben runs away.
Ben.
Rune grabs a backpack and retreats.
Yeah!
Yanni
Fuck
stays
me.
at the cornucopia
Oh
for
my god.
reinforcements.
My
Jaden and Cruz fight
What the
Conrad
fuck?
and Damien. Conrad and Damien.
Are they dead?
They're dead already.
Flame runs away from the cornucopia. Dav runs away from the
This is so
cornucopia.
sad.
Let's go.
Knack grabs a shield,
God.
leaning on the cornucopia.
There's
LBJ
no
runs away.
way.
And it runs away from the cornucopia. Proceed.
Bro,
Let's
frame
go.
1.
Oh my god.
Dude, Cruz is already dead.
no.
Oh,
No.
Just the Cruz.
No.
Run it back, run it back, run it back. Just the Cruz.
Okay.
They're on
Day
it
one.
Day one.
No Pro is perked by thorns while picking berries. Ganny
Wow.
forces Jericho.
God.
No.
Yes,
not my teammate.
Germa survived.
Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Decent survived. Let's
you better
go.
Bro, Germa is winning
Hey, at least
this.
it's not me. At least it's not
Come
me.
on,
No.
No, you're still good, Damien. You're still good, Damien. You can win this.
We're still chilling. We're still chilling.
No, don't tell me I die.
This is
Flame
sad.
diverts James' attention, runs away.
Yeah.
The medic
You
makes
ate
a wooden
with a
spear.
Why?
No!
Yes, yes, Herb while
You
he is
traitor!
looking.
No.
He's sus.
Classic
It's me.
He's so sus, dude.
Rune tries to spear but is
God
tried.
damn it!
LTG
Lamau.
overhears Manny and Marcus
Hey,
talking.
hear me.
Ben
Wait,
runs
what
away
happened?
from Ava.
Hey,
Mox sets an explosive.
No!
No! Do not cut! Wait! Mox,
no.
of course it's Mox. Of course it's
No.
Hey,
Mox.
we lost a good man too soon.
Fuck Mox. Fuck Mox. That ass.
Yeah, for real.
Koya.
That ass.
No, he's gotta die.
Wait. No.
Koya dies!
Bro, people are dropping like flies.
I'm
Hey,
already
run.
so upset about these deaths. I'm
His
so
bag
upset
killed
about
him.
this.
Dude,
Not-
Conrad and
not
Koya
me.
died.
Conrad is not chilling.
They did me dirty.
Jaden
They did me
died.
dirty.
Jaden died, bro.
They did do you dirty.
Damien,
You're
not
dirty,
dead
you
yet,
have
though.
people.
They did both
Okay.
Cruz and fucking
Six
Koya
characters
I
died in the
dirty.
distance.
Wait, did I die?
Jaden,
No, you're not dead yet.
No, Jaden.
Cruz,
Lake
Let's
Union? They
go.
don't even have jobs.
Neck,
Knack.
Conrad,
Yes,
Koya.
Conrad is dead.
I'm so sad Conrad's dead. He was my
Yeah,
boy.
Dude.
No, this is literally so sad.
Alright,
Okay.
Dude.
This is a
Akira-
terrifying alliance right here. Like this. What is this?
Damien and Mochi are gone.
Griffins,
I'm
Mox,
scared.
LTG, and Damien away from his fire.
Let's
Okay.
fucking go.
Curb, Medic, and Rune discuss the games and what might happen in the morning.
Oh, let's
That's
go,
kind of
Curb.
real. That's kind of real.
That's kind of
Shake my
Yeah.
hand. Shake my
tends
hand.
to Vanny's wounds.
Hey, yo,
Let's go.
Davin Marcus.
Dab defeats Marcus in a fight, spares his
Yo,
life.
Dab, so-
Okay.
Base.
so cute.
Okay, we don't have
Dab,
another
so
death. Ben?
Ben begs for no
Accurate.
Ben alive.
That's not base. Ben just popped off.
Oh my god.
Accurate.
Yeah,
David
literally.
tries to treat her
No,
infection.
I really
Oh,
should kill
God.
myself.
She got infected by
Why
the
she have
sus.
Please don't
Why
leave
she
me
have an
dead.
infection?
Please.
Oh god.
Flame quietly hums.
He's
Average
just humming.
FOMO reaction.
He's chilling. He's chilling.
Yeah,
Jenny
that's
defeats
my
Jericho
teammate's
in a fight,
dead.
Oh my
spares
god,
his
Danny
life.
W again. Bro,
Alright.
why is Danny like a...
No,
Germa.
Germa!
No.
Too much silly
Germa's a
posting.
white guy. Germa's fine, guys. Guys, I think Germa's
So
I don't know
much
if
silly
he's-
posting.
I don't know if he's dead or if
I
he
don't
just
think
like
so.
is
I don't
passed
think
out.
He's just
dead. I
knocked
don't
out.
think he's dead.
He's just
I-
knocked
yeah,
out.
he's
He's fine.
He's knocked out, but he could
Marcus, okay, day 2, the sun rises. Marcus practices his archery.
Bro, that should be me.
Flame receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Brune steals from Curb while he is looking
Wow.
Oh, there's a lot of people here.
Uh-oh.
You don't
Landmine?
have to-
Landmine?
Someone's dying.
This is
Rude
terrible.
They died to a
This
landmine.
is terrifying.
Ben, Ganny, Medic,
No.
Jericho, and
Oh
Damien
my
hunt for other tributes. Oh, okay.
You can have a 5-minute.
Visceral reaction.
Oh, oh, JB.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Jump scare.
Ruh-roh, JB.
Among Us
Anyway.
video.
Akira runs away from Vanny.
Okay.
Germa
Uh-oh.
receives
Uh-oh.
He has connection.
Look at Germa.
Sponsor?
Dude, he's gonna kill like 5 people in one fell swoop.
Ava strangles.
Yeah.
After
God.
God, dang.
No.
Average
That was
parsnips
bad.
encounter.
Based.
Max tries to spear fish with a trident.
Alright.
No pro fishes. Everyone's fishing.
Hey.
Everyone's fishing. It's a
Hey,
good.
fish
Yeah, it's
for me.
good.
Okay, the
Oh,
sun
poor
sets,
Dab.
one cannon shot can
Poor Dab.
Poor Dab,
Oh, man,
strangled
Dab.
by
Poor Dave.
strangled by
They have a
Ava.
moment of silence.
Ben thinks about.
Ben thinks about home.
I hope you get a
Me,
big
me,
win.
me, me screenshot that as banner.
Germa,
What a
LTV,
lineup.
Flame, and Medic sleep and shift.
Damn.
Flame, you are so lucky.
Ava begs for Akira to kill her. He refuses, keeping Ava alive.
Right?
She regrets killing. She regrets
She
strangling
regrets-
Dab.
He records.
Feels bad.
me. That's I saw myself.
Bruden receives a
Okay,
hatchet
nice.
from an
Nice.
unknown
No, I'm taking
Handshake
Epic.
emoji.
Uh-oh.
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 Oh, okay.
Okay,
Oh,
Curb,
geez.
Jamie, and
Oh,
Ganny
okay.
discuss the
Chilling,
game and what
chilling.
might happen in the morning.
That is honestly
Chilling
so real, guys.
Another
Marcus
hatchet.
receives a hatchet.
Dude, who is
Wait,
giving
did I
out all
die?
these hatchets?
Wait,
True.
Also, wait, I just realized you can like kind of see me there.
Lamel.
Okay, anyway.
Vanny and Damien.
Uh-oh.
Vanny
Okay.
lets Damien into a shield.
Yeah.
Vanny's so dead.
Alright.
Let's go.
No Pro and Mox talk about the
Okay,
tribute
that's-
still alive. Why is No Pro hanging out with Mox?
That's a good
Yeah,
question.
I don't know, bro. Mox and No Pro like not have like.
Jericho also passes out from exhaustion. If this isn't the
No.
face that's about to pass out from exhaustion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm dead though.
No.
I just
No.
passed
Yet.
out. I'm snoozing. I'm snoozing.
Herb, how you
yeah.
feel about this?
Right.
How you
Here's
feel
the
about
logo.
this?
No, this is totally her. This is so her.
Dear God, that is not.
Damien
I
fishes.
think-
No Pro runs away from Mox.
Yeah. Appropriate reaction.
Yep.
Flame crushes.
Can you
Question
screenshot
to
that?
This
sanity.
is so accurate.
That's a
Okay.
pretty good screenshot right
Real.
there.
Don't
That's
do
Vanny,
it.
come
Yeah,
on.
you would, monkey. You would
Hey,
Yeah, mine in time.
I'm trying to drink his face.
Akira makes a wooden
Oh,
spear.
God.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Amy, Jericho,
Okay.
Germa, and Ava hunt for other
No one is
tributes.
dying. What the fuck?
I know.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
these guys
Everyone
are
died on the
hunting.
first day. Everyone died on the first day.
Marcus
Marcus
injures
injures
himself.
Average
No.
Marcus.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Curb constructs a shack.
I thought that said commit suicide.
Vanny takes it out home.
Curb and I are actually
Vanny gets
Curb
evicted.
and I are actually playing Minecraft.
No one died today.
What?
not-
Minecraft.
We're not
Oh.
actually playing Minecraft, but we are in the
Oh,
game.
no.
Play Minecraft. Damien and
Damn.
Medic work together. Oh god! Oh god!
This is so
Alright,
awful.
Damien's getting banned.
Oh, Damien is actually
Oh
getting
my
banned.
god. Ava looks at the night sky.
Cringe.
She's
Imagine.
remembering Tab.
Cringe. Fly me
Okay.
to the moon.
Cheer-
Let me
Aw.
Oh, so
You
cute.
guys
so
need to
cute.
use the soundboard, but like in a clever way.
We're trying, I
Okay,
promise.
Herb,
No,
it's
okay,
my
No
now
turn.
we
prohibitions
have
medical
to-
Is it
supply from
time?
unknown sponsor.
Is it time?
Talking about a fire.
We're just
Jerma, Rune, Curb, and Vanny
Oh
sleep
wait, I
in
can't
shifts.
because then that would it would
Yeah,
show up.
dude. Curb and I are chilling. Holy fuck.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, you and Kurt are
Flame
chilling,
thinks
yeah.
about
And
home.
Flame is only like
What's your guide
reflecting.
to step camp for the night? Jericho receives fresh.
Now.
Yes. Timing.
Jamie looks at the night sky. Mox tries to treat an infection.
Uh-oh.
What does Ben do?
And quietly
Man,
hums.
he's
What does the Ben do?
Geometry dash.
What the
And
Ben
chilling.
doing?
Alright.
Oh, we've expanded into we're a group of 5 now.
Yeah,
Counting
Jerma.
others
Yeah.
to contribute.
Derma.
I can't believe he's
Oh
still
my
alive.
God, what happened?
Sayo, dude.
Let's
Damien
go.
and
Curb.
Damien's
That's so
being
nice of
unbanned.
her.
Mox discovers a cave.
Okay.
Room
my
practices
cave.
archery.
Yeah, you.
LTG tries to sleep through the entire day. Who just joined?
He's not having it.
Did I die?
That's a very Ava
No.
weapon,
Gonna
actually.
hug you.
Oh yeah, you died, Jaden.
Vanny throws a knife.
Goblin boy.
This is literally what happens when Bonnie tries to coach him too.
This would not happen. I'm
The
so,
virtual knife to the chest.
No co-fishes.
This is such a
Marcus goes
Marcus
Ben
goes
dead. No.
Ben is
Why
dead.
do I make 3 wooden spears?
2
I don't
cannon
like
shots
my
can be heard in the
name.
distance.
This
Vanny
is
and
so
Ben.
sad.
Danny and Ben.
Let's check up on everyone so far. So here's where we're standing right now.
District 1
Wait, I got 3 kills?
District 1 is
So,
such an L,
District
dude.
1 District 1 is totally eliminated.
No.
District 1.
Nice
is
zoom
dead.
in.
District 2
Jaden
District
L,
2
Jaden L,
is both alive, though separated.
How does
Ava's got a
Ava-
kill.
Bro, Ava would probably be the least likely person to kill someone though.
Well, she killed
Strangled him.
And it
Dab.
was you! And she killed you! Oh wait, no, she killed Dab, I think.
Yeah, idiot.
Here's District 3. Who killed Koya?
He didn't he like bleed out from unrelated
Oh
injuries or
yeah,
something?
yeah.
Yeah.
He was not
Very
powerful
unfortunate.
enough.
District 4 is dead. District
Conrad went
5
out with
is
a bang.
half dead. Conrad got 2 kills before he went down.
Yeah, he went out with a bang.
How
That's
did he
good.
Still
He went out with a
standing.
bang.
How did he cook?
Flame is alive, but Decent is dead.
He cooked. He cooked before he died. It's
Oh.
fine.
Yeah, you could.
District
Rest in
6
peace.
is
Rune
half
has not
dead.
cooked yet.
Dude,
Conrad
I'm
did.
chilling,
Oh my god.
right?
Damien, bro.
Damien hard carry.
Damien,
So
carried
true.
Damien hard carry. Hard
Okay.
carry.
Triple, that's so perfect.
Just
Oh, baby, a
Eight
triple.
is half alive.
Look.
Bro,
District
those two
9
need to stop
District
cooking.
9 has 2 killers, actually, which
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Put
I
down the
will never
cookbook,
kill a
bro.
single
This
soul.
recipe is
District 10
closed.
is still
I wanna
alive.
win.
District 11
Oh,
is
dear
still alive.
God.
District 12
He's alive. Ew.
still
LTG
alive.
has not
God,
gotten killed.
we're dead. I
That-
Guys,
was
hold on. You wanna know what I hope happens? You know what I hope happens?
I hope you guys.
Can you screenshot this, please? Please.
Guys, I'm Skyblock level 10. This is hype.
Yeah, you know what else is hype? You're cuddling with
What do you
Germa.
hope? What do you hope, Ben?
Because that'd be really ironic and funny.
Aw,
Oh, that's actually really wholesome.
that's
Also-
so cute.
Yippee!
That's cringe. That's cringe.
Ah!
Awesome.
I'm so fire.
Spoiler alert, I'm not a Boy Scout.
Pyromaniac?
You're
Elbow.
suck.
TG quietly hums. No Pro and Vanny huddle for warmth.
Aw.
Akiva screams for help. Mox defeats Ava in a fight but
Oh.
spares her
Wait,
life.
what?
Oh my
I-
god, Ava
I
died.
died today?
Yeah, no, literally, I got so upset for a second. Mox defeats Ava in a fight but spares her life. Marcus and Damien sleeps in shifts.
Oh, okay. Thank
Medic
God.
convinces Jamie to snuggle with him. Oh. Yes. Flame loses sight of where he is.
Bro, I'm
Flame is
just
so
trying to
lost.
play your game.
Flame is actually so
Oh,
lost.
no.
Wait a second. Sashi isn't in this.
Oh,
Jericho and Ava
go,
fight
Simon.
again.
Let's
Ekron
fucking
and
go.
survive.
It's okay. This just
No,
means I can
me?
play Skyblock.
Another
Germa
one.
receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor.
Imagine I get
Marcus
blown up.
receives clean water from an unknown sponsor.
Bro, Germa has 2 explosives now.
Curb tends to Damien's room.
Aw, how cute.
Aw.
Thanks,
Dude, they
Jamie
help each other.
silently wrapped snap.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
Oh my god.
Mox is dead.
It really went.
The assassin.
About time, bro.
Revenge.
Really went.
It was I
Yo, you
avenged
guys-
everyone who he killed.
Let's
Guys,
go.
Mox
Man,
really
Medic
went.
discovers a river.
Wow.
Flame runs away
Flame
from
runs away from GoPro.
Danny tries to
Later.
spearfish with a trident. LTG hunts for other ships.
Oh,
Wait,
He's on the
wait, guys,
he's on the
wait.
hunt.
He is on the
Guys,
hunt.
God.
Bro.
He's
Three
already-
cannon shots can be heard in the
Good,
distance.
Yo.
Rip Jericho.
It's okay. I'm playing Skyblock.
Oh,
He's
sad.
alive
So
in another
sorry.
realm. He's moved on. It's okay.
And Mox.
I moved on to the Sky Realm.
I did hear
proceed.
what you said.
Oh my god, I
Night
just
five.
Yippee.
No
Ghost
pro, German,
stories.
medic, and Akira tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Damon receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Flame receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor.
Give me some of that.
Rune unknowingly
Shit.
eats toxic berries.
Dude.
Rune
Am I
ate
dead?
bad berries.
Yeah.
You're probably
God.
dead, man. I'm sorry.
Rune,
I don't
I'm
think
sorry, I
that's
can't
it.
answer this.
Curb receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor.
Let's go. I'm gonna blow up Germa.
LTG lets Jamie into his shelter.
It's a trap.
Danny
It's a trap.
convinces Marcus to snuggle with him.
Jamie, he ain't
Oh,
man.
Marcus makes a wooden sphere.
No pro diverts Germa's attention and runs away. Oh my! Oh,
Uh-oh.
Everyone-
LTG uses an explosive and kills 4 people. I'm calling it now.
That was goofy,
Oh.
oh! LTG
Oh.
Curbs can't obvious hunting.
Uh-oh.
Guys, I think it's out. I'm out. It's
No.
so Jover for me.
Flame sees smoke
He
right
doesn't care. He
distance,
doesn't
but decides
care.
not to investigate.
Oh my
Damien
God.
shoots an arrow into Vanny's head.
Is that kill number 4 for Damien?
Yeah, it
This
is.
is crazy.
Wait, who did you go? Oh, God, it's like- wait, what? Wait, go back.
Rune
Wait, what?
and
This is so
Vanny
cringe.
rest in
So
peace.
cringe.
Come on, Mount Rune.
You ate the toxic
I
berries.
died. 2 berries, bro.
Bro,
The
wanna
blueberries,
fight
bro.
and then died to
Night
the
6.
environment.
Jamie
I'm
corrects
also allergic to
herself.
blueberries.
Jamie, you cried yourself to sleep because Marcus ain't your man no more.
Oh my god.
Arrow into Meta's
Jason,
head.
who
Oh
helped
my
you?
god.
Twitter ain't gonna like that
I
one,
don't know,
bud.
Jericho. That's a good question.
Marcus and No Pro tell stories about themselves to each other.
LTG.
Crazy.
LTG tries to
Oh,
sing
nice.
himself to sleep.
You
Curb?
should.
Curb
Here.
accidentally
No!
detonates a landmine while trying
Danny's
to arm it.
dead.
My explosive.
No, Kurt.
Okay, it didn't say anything about me, so hopefully I'm not dead.
Dude,
Oh
he
my
said-
God.
didn't say anything about the berries.
No,
He
I
was
think
dying.
you're dead, my man.
I'm probably dead.
Flame
Yeah.
questions
You're
his
dead,
sanity.
bro.
Akira stabs
No!
Damien with a tree branch.
Finally!
Her killing
Fine.
streak's
Damien
over.
has fallen.
That's
L
actually
Damien.
Oh my
L
God.
Damien.
It's dribbled up monkey's penis. I swear.
The feast. Okay.
It's okay.
The
he's getting help
cornucopia
from an
is
unknown
replenished
sponsor.
with food,
Bro,
supplies,
add
weapons,
that.
and
No way.
memoirs from the tributes
With a
families.
tree branch? No.
No
That's
Pro
amazing.
decides not to go to the feast. Flame decides not to go.
He
Marcus
has
and
food.
LTG get into
Raw
a fight
meat.
over raw meat, but LTG gives up and
Common
runs
LTG.
away.
Bro, just like
LTG
your
loves his
life.
Jamie
meat.
decides not to go. Akira catches Germa off guard and kills him.
Whoa.
What's wrong with you?
Let this be
Akira
known as the
has
day that
syrup.
Akira kills Germa.
Science.
Yeah.
Yo,
Not
hi.
fucking man.
Mithril level 3.
Day 7.
Oh, let's
LTG
go.
diverts Akira's attention and runs away. No Pro picks
No, picks
flowers.
flowers.
Aw.
Jamie overhears
nice.
Marcus and
Wait,
and
so
Flame talking in the distance.
Six people left.
He's
Six people left.
dropping.
Ew, human
There's only-
interaction.
Oh wait, yeah. There's only 6 left.
Dude, there's no way.
Yeah,
LTG
I'm so
wins.
dead.
That is LTG.
Dude.
No.
We're
No.
getting shot
I'm
in the
dead. I'm fucking dead.
Herb is
Is
dead.
Damien actually dead?
Thank God that Damien
blew up my
died.
own
I'm
life.
sorry.
Damien died to
Fucking
guys.
Germa.
Damien died to a tree branch.
So here's where we're at now.
Nice. I got 2 kills finally.
I have
Only
4
two
before
kills?
live.
Yeah. Oh my
Shut the
god.
hell up,
Alright,
Damien.
bro,
I have
Yeah.
12.
Apparently the
That's
most
12.
is Akira
So
and
sad.
Damien are tied.
Sad day
But-
for America.
Day for America.
So real. So real.
No, Marcus, down he goes.
So that's
Unknowingly
two
eats
people
top
down.
Bozo,
berries.
Bozo.
No!
Nopro's trap kills
Yes!
Akira.
Stream District No Pro.
Imagine if No Pro wins.
Flame
Oh my god,
receives
it's
a
Flame and
hatchet
No
from an
Pro.
unknown sponsor.
The 1v1.
Jamie begs for LTG to kill.
You should
That
kill
is so
yourself
not
now.
fair.
You should kill me now. He refuses,
not kill
keeping
yourself
Jamie
now.
alive.
That is not canon.
LTG is the opposite, okay?
LTG attacks Flame, but he manages to escape. Jamie picks flowers.
Eat a toxic berry.
No pro
Now.
fishes.
4 of us. There's 4 left, and there's only 1.
Two cannon shots can be heard in the distance.
The
It's
Among
down to the
Us.
wire. Like, literally anything that can happen now can decide the winner, you know?
I'm nerd.
I want LTG to blow you all up with a
Oh my god.
with a landmine. Oh, guess it's not
That's a
happening.
hate crime, bro. That's white on black crime.
I'm sorry.
He didn't kill
It's
her,
night
so
eight.
Don't
kill her.
apologize.
Flame destroys no pro supplies while he's asleep.
Flame's not a real one.
No way, Rick. No pro chases Flame. Jamie attempts to climb a tree, but falls to her death.
Ben would have succeeded on climbing a tree. Just saying.
Oh my
So
God.
I
Not going to give
so,
you a
okay.
reason on
I
why.
I
You got-
silently
just saying.
snapped Mox's
That's
neck,
actually so
and then
cringe.
killed LTG with a hatchet, and then fell out of a tree and died. Okay.
Average Jamie moment.
That's actually so cringe.
It actually is that is a Jamie moment, to be honest.
It is a Jamie.
That's very much a Jamie moment.
I'm so sad that
is-
LTG didn't
that's
win.
not-
You heard the
No, no, bro. He-
Proceed.
It's me and him.
No way.
Flame W.
that's crazy.
Flame wins!
Let's go. I'm so awesome.
Jamie,
There
you
we
forgot
go.
someone.
Let's go. Mark this down as the dad won the Hunger Games.
Can you hold the image onto like the top right corner and be like a ghost?
In my opinion, we should do another.
Fine,
Yes, I
nice.
agree.
honestly,
Yeah,
run it back, run
Yeah,
it
we
back.
can do it again.
Okay, wait, Jamie.
Let's
You
go.
forgot to add Sashi and his boy kisser.
Oh. Oh right, okay. Give me a thing.
You can just like take Mox out.
I just want my one and done.
You're a boy
Give me the
kisser?
picture.
Boy kisser?
Hold up. Give me a second.
You can just like take Mox or Vonnie or out or something.
Absolutely, I am. Yeah, take Mox out. No one likes Mox. I don't know why we have him in there.
That's valid.
Ben, we're on
I
stream.
was
Well,
not
I-
expecting
Control
myself
yourself.
to win that.
I put him there because everyone needs it. Every story needs an antagonist.
Real.
I mean, LTG
He's someone
is the antagonist. LTG.
That's true.
Whose
True.
pupper is this?
Yo,
Oh,
the
it's
dog
Max.
cam.
Dog cam.
Doggy.
Oh wait, I think Jaden definitely got last place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He actually got last place. Oh my god.
Oh wait, I
my God,
predicted
dog.
I would get last. I predicted
24
I would
out of
die first.
24, dude.
Hey, take me out of the next one,
It's
by the
cringe.
way.
I predicted I would
Okay.
get first.
Replace me with
scared-
Sashi.
I'm
Yeah.
scared that if I hit
That's so
simulate
cute.
again, it's gonna delete things. Wait, can I
Go back to the reaping then.
Save.
Oh,
Or
so
maybe
I just want you to post the statistics, by the way, for no reason.
Why is someone
Yo.
petting their dog, bro?
okay, yeah, then just put that in a new tab and then mess around with this one.
Yeah.
The sound bites make this stream like a. Curb, do you check your
Okay.
chat?
Yes, I did.
Who was I supposed to take out?
Me.
Mox.
Moxie.
You're off the team. I hate
Oh.
you. Your sister is ugly. Go jump in the lake.
Your
Flame?
sister is ugly? Jump in a
Yeah.
lake?
I'm taking out the winner. Okay.
Hope you take up on the Lego.
Go step on a Lego?
All right. Give me someone.
My head hurts. Oh wait, Rin.
Just so you know,
But,
don't
like,
click
how
on
I
anything
avoided
sensitive. I am still
human
streaming your
conflict for,
POV,
like,
so
95%.
Huh?
Wait,
Like,
Bro, I am
console.
literally mining level 15. I have
Oh, let's
only
go.
played this today. This is we started the co-op today.
yeah, so just take Flame out and put
Whoa,
Oh my gosh,
Sashi's
I'm
thing in there.
crazy, dude.
So,
What's
I have
up?
an issue with your stream title.
Find my DMs.
Are you not my friend?
So,
Oh my god, cat.
so I wouldn't say not your friend per se.
Why is this so slow?
But your homie. It's in the group chat. It's in the group chat.
in there.
Go to
in the
Hunger
group
Games pictures.
Put my dog in there.
Okay, hold on. Let me just like stop streaming for a second.
Okay,
Yeah,
you get
it's
dog
bad
cam until
gambit streaming your
she comes back then.
brother.
My GIF gets
Alright,
again.
we
Get
gotta
dog cam till it comes back. No!
You better have a VOD.
The dog cam went away.
It's still
No, it's
there.
not.
Sure.
No, it's
It's
not.
literally still there.
What?
I put the dog cam for intermission. Dog cam intermission.
What do you mean? What do you mean? It's in the group chat. It's not in the group chat.
Yes, it is.
The images one.
Oh, maybe it's not.
Oh wait,
Uh,
you're left. No.
Oh,
Pretty
snap.
sure it is.
Wait, hold on. I swear it is. Where is it?
It's
I
literal.
know it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's right here.
literally right here.
Okay, can you resend it to the bottom?
Knack, I like your dog.
Oh, that
Very
one.
nice
Yeah.
dog.
I was looking in the wrong group
Lunas
chat.
is
Sorry.
very strange right now.
No, but
LMFAO.
Damon. Okay, Damon was actually like doing good.
Yeah.
Damien was like on a murder
Damien was
spree.
going crazy.
I did better, though.
Bro, Curb
Yeah,
was,
I
getting
popped
bullied.
off.
Curb was getting bullied the whole time. He had someone rate us.
No, but I
Yes,
was
no,
like
he was
pretty
on-
good.
someone
Like,
destroyed
me and
his-
I
Curb,
can't believe I died day 2 to an explosive
yeah,
someone else
me
set
and
off.
Curb had like a friendship going. On God.
Lethal
We were-
injection.
Lethal injection.
Brushing his teeth.
Is it
Sure.
actually? Oh, it is.
that's
Average
Irish.
British.
I can't see the dog
This
cam.
dog is so
It's
cute.
okay. I have the VOD. You'll be able to
Yeah,
see
it's
it
on
then.
stream.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
doing it
coming.
right
I'm
now.
coming.
What
What
the
the freak? I'm gonna share my screen again.
I'm a
Do you
rejoin
wanna
VC.
record it
Alright.
again?
I've been recording this whole
Right.
time. So yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Goblin
Well,
these nuts got him.
here we go.
Mind Goblin.
My throat hurts because I've been yelling too much now.
Yeah, I've also been yelling way too much. I think you can tell though.
I can't wait to die on the first day.
Me? Or
Or
you?
4:30 a.m.
I'm
I
down the
predict
third day.
them
This
I
being
want to root for
top
Curb
three
for
this
this one, not gonna lie.
I
Let's
predict
go.
Jaden's gonna get
I want to
literally
root for Curb,
he's
because
not gonna
he's
die
better.
first, he's gonna die second.
I wanna.
Just
root
use a
for
loading
better,
screen
so-
on my end.
Yep.
Dang.
It is for me too. So just give it a second. Never
Oh,
mind.
screen died.
Just kidding.
Oh, shit to
Oh,
Hey,
crazy.
Curb.
What's
Do
up?
you wanna like? what
Using
was it? You should try
loanword.
this game on Game Pass called Frog Detective.
That sounds pretty hype, actually.
Oh,
Alright, let me see if I can like
fuck.
send a
My head
picture of what
actually
it looks
hurts
like.
now. My
Curb
head
and
actually
Jamie
hurts.
have unstable internet connections.
You have an unstable internet
Unstable,
connection.
just like my life.
No.
My
Wait,
Twitch
Curb,
says
check
that my
PC
internet
chat.
is fine, so it's your issue.
What?
This is what Frog Detective looks like.
LSU lol.
Oh, what is that?
Check check VC.
That looks
chat.
kind of fun,
Detective.
actually.
It's way too much. Oh, there's someone named Dusty, by the way, in that.
Oh.
Now the
Crazy.
stream's working.
There you go.
Oh, I need to open the stream.
Oh, stream's up.
There we go.
Hey, we
I have
back.
dog
Jaden, you
cam in
ready
the
to
top left corner.
go? Okay, let's go. We gotta win this, bro. We gotta win.
Dog game. This time you
Ben, we gotta win this.
Dog
Yeah,
cam.
go, go.
I hope
Don't die.
Conrad
Go,
wins
go,
this.
bro.
Oh,
Conrad
okay.
and Ben will
really
win
hope
this,
Conrad
actually. I'm
wins
rooting
this.
for him.
Everyone root for Conrad.
My comrade in arms.
My
My
con.
Honestly-
Conrad in arms.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Jaden because I know it's never gonna happen.
Jericho's dead.
Wow.
Rune kills Jericho.
Whoa.
Interest and despair.
Oh,
Mabika.
This is why
As
you're
the
about to
tribute
die.
stand on their podiums, the horn sounds.
This is why you're cringe.
Rune severely
Someone play
injures
the horn.
Jericho but puts him out of his misery.
Runes,
James,
Right.
first. That's what you're
Cringe,
doing.
Frame one
cringe,
And Ben runs away.
This is what I get for playing
Look, your god
Minecraft.
runs away.
That's what you get for saying
Decent
I was
runs
gonna
away.
die.
Decent runs away.
Mox runs away. Ava runs away. Only one of us needs
Cruz
to
runs
read.
away.
Shut up.
Yeah, Ben.
I
Shut
learned
up.
from last time.
Ben, shut up.
It's my computer, Ben.
Alright.
Curb and Marcus fight for a bag. Curb gives up and retreats.
Common
No!
Curb.
Stick man should not win.
Superior boyfriend.
Curb cannot win. I swear to
This
God.
Minecraft Steve.
Bev runs away from the cornucopia.
I bet we're gonna end up
Jamie
snuggling
runs
later.
away. Sashimi finds a bag full of explosives.
Wait. Screenshot that.
Oh, no.
Screenshot that.
That's
I
actually
screenshotted it for
canon.
him. I
That's
see
canon.
you with it.
Oh wait, yeah.
Oh my
That's
god.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I forgot to make it boy kisser. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's not a
It
huge
slipped my
deal.
mind.
Y'all
No,
You can tell what it
Sashimi
is.
is a
You
boy
like
kisser.
kissing
You got it right.
boys?
Conrad runs away.
Conrad runs away.
Hold
Yanni
up, I need to
snatches a
find this
pair of
video.
size. Oh my
What the
god.
fuck is a side?
They aren't
So
sharp.
they're like. Oh wow.
Defensive
Pro,
weapons.
no pro
Whoa,
stabs
whoa.
Vanny with a tree branch.
He wants to win.
What? Okay. Knack runs away.
In my
And his
yard.
question was never
Germa runs
answered.
away.
Illegals in
Koya
my
runs
yard.
away with a lighter and some rope.
He's gonna light the rope on fire and make a flaming whip.
What?
Yeah.
That's what I would
Get
do.
away! I'm Bacardi!
Akira falls into a pit and dies.
Oh my god.
No! That's what you get from last round, man. Fuck you.
Honestly.
You're so
Jaden's away.
Literally.
Yo, let's go, Jaden.
Thank you so much.
Jaden, let's go. Let's go, Jaden. Let's
Go
go.
on to you.
Let's go,
Let's go.
Day 1.
I'm ready
Koya
for bed.
attacks Knack, but he manages to escape.
Oh,
Yes,
next.
let's go.
Oh.
Past day 2.
Oh,
Past
Germa?
day 2.
Germa sees smoke rising in the distance, but decides not to investigate. Cruz is
Pyromaniac
pursued
in the
with
Oh my
distance.
berries.
god, this guy.
That had
Oh,
better
wait.
not kill him, dude.
Diverts Damien's attention and runs away.
Let's go. Let's go.
No pro chases Kirk.
Get away from me, bro.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
my
Uh
god.
oh.
Oh, oh, oh.
Uh-oh.
Marcus,
Uh-oh.
Conrad, Ava, and Ben raid Sashimi's camp while he is hunting.
No! Wow!
No.
We're so real for that.
LTG attacks Medic, but he manages
Oh,
to
now
escape.
LTG's being himself again.
Marcus sees fresh food from
Oh
the
my
unknown
God,
sponsor.
Uh-oh,
Rune stalks Ganny.
Hey, yo.
Oh.
Hey,
Hold
yo.
on.
Really?
Hold on.
Whoa,
Yo.
Whoa, whoa. Jamie and Decent track down and kill Dorian.
Oh, that's
Why is
crazy.
everyone
That's
killing
like his
Dav?
live dev reaction.
That's crazy.
Because last time Ava strangled Dav.
Jericho is dead. Vanny.
Jericho
Okay,
died
I was already high.
Vanny,
Oh my god.
Akira, and Dav.
This is so sad.
This is crazy.
That's crazy.
Night 1.
Is it
Cruz
Marcus
puts
into
Marcus
shelter?
into
Hey,
the shelter.
Shelton.
Ganny and Medic sleep in shifts.
What do you mean the wind has
Aw.
changed directions? Jaden, I
Jamie
don't
quietly
play this game
comes.
enough. What
Okay.
does this mean?
What? Wait,
Big
what are
one.
you wondering about?
Oh, LTG.
I'm in the
Ben,
dwarven
Conrad
mines.
and Rune
Yeah.
shifts.
Aw.
It said the wind has changed
Ew,
direction.
Rune, kick him
I
out.
actually don't know what that is.
Irma and Nak talk
Oh,
about
it's,
the
it's
tribute
an event.
still alive. Damien, Nopro, Jaden, and Koya sleep in shifts.
Dude, I
Real.
love that
Maybe we can
picture.
go
of
to
me.
Mox
the internet
and
without
Decent
anyone
discuss
dying.
the games
That'd
and
be
what might
crazy.
happen
You should
in
have
the
done the
morning.
one that like
Actually,
the
that's
Noah
wrong.
Kerr
did.
Jamie
bleeds
needs
out
a
due to
kiss.
untreated injury.
No! No!
already.
Not Curb!
So soon.
Wah.
Oh,
When?
Rune dies from
dies.
hypothermia.
That's what you get, bro.
Where?
Sashimi just called you nerd in chat, by the way. Kurt.
Gemma receives clean
I saw.
Rune died from hypothermia. What a loser, honestly.
Imagine
Koya
that
is-
from hypothermia.
Koya
Fire
Circus.
away.
I just want to
Rude.
see the
Imagine
part
that
where
tries
Germa
to
blows
get
people
fish
up with a
with
landmine.
Yeah.
Marcus
Marcus.
vicious.
in Texas,
That is
though.
what
You're
it
the
Ganny
kind of
hunts
person
for
to be
other
blown up
tribute.
by a landmine.
Oh my
Ganny
days.
repeatedly stabs
Yo.
LTG to death
Again?
with Scott.
Oh my god.
You should kill me now.
Rune left.
Kill you now.
Guys, Jaden's gonna survive.
Yeah, Jaden's gonna survive.
Jaden's gonna win.
I got this. I got this.
Nak runs away from Mox.
I know what happened last time.
Wait, where's
Decent and
Conrad?
Sashimi hunt for other
If I
tribute.
die,
Conrad's alive, I think.
Ben receives.
Oh, there
yeah,
he
he's
is.
here.
There
Ben
he is.
receives
Yeah.
fresh
There he
food
is.
from the
Uh-oh.
unknown sponsor. Ava, Damien, and Conrad start.
No!
Damien runs away.
He's not alive anymore.
Conrad.
yeah, I run.
My boy.
R.I.P. Cuh.
Yeah,
Wait,
Yeah,
completely unrelated, but we gotta play
an
It Takes
unknown
Two.
sponsor.
That's true.
Cruz receives
Cruz
fresh
receives
water from the
clean water.
unknown sponsor.
Lake Union? They don't even have jobs.
This is every time.
4 cannon shots can be heard.
Wah.
Yeah.
I know. Wait, let me just use the feature.
I don't have it on my
Use-
phone.
No, it's way
Oh.
funnier to say it.
Right.
it's
Well,
funny, yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
on stream. I'm gonna open this.
Wah.
Where?
Not funny.
Oh my god, now my
Wah.
computer is frozen.
Wah.
Actually, just kidding.
Great.
Where is the wah?
Ryzen 3 processor in action.
You all like kissing boys. Y'all are boy kissers.
Boy
Ooh.
kissers.
Womp womp.
Boy kissers.
Wah, 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 wow.
That's so good.
Anyway, all these people died.
That's enough.
Ben and Marcus tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Sashimi cooks his food before putting his fire
He
out.
cooks his little
Destroys
boys.
Ganny's supplies.
Okay.
Ava, bro.
Y'all are
Jaden
boy
pushes
kissers.
Germa off a
Ooh.
cliff during the
Oh my
night raid.
Wow, no!
Why Germa though?
That's the face
I
of a
wanted him to
killer.
blow people up.
That's the face of a killer.
Nopro stays awake all night.
No,
Medic
yeah.
cries himself to sleep.
That's crazy.
Nax sets up camp for the night.
Hoya killed himself.
Hoya dies trying to escape the arena.
I swear to God, if I die,
Yep, he's dead. He's dead.
Damien looks in the night sky.
fly me to the moon and let me kick your fucking ass. Let me
What?
word in moon
True.
Lake
class.
Union.
Another word.
They don't even have
fuck
jobs.
Marcus receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Peter searches for firewood. Damien begs for Ben to kill her. He refuses,
well, you know what?
keeping
That's
Damien
pretty much.
alive.
That's pretty cool. That's cool. Hey, I'm not
Bro.
mean.
Thanks,
That's
man.
cool.
Nopro
Thank you, Ben.
camouflages himself in the
Bush camper.
bushes.
Oh,
Decent and Ganny
camouflage.
hunt for other tributes.
Bro,
Nat
I could have gotten this a
questions
long
his
time ago.
sanity.
What am I doing?
go
I'm
now.
on drugs.
Jaden kills Jaden with a single.
Let's
I
go.
am going
Jaden,
insane.
Jaden.
That's the face of somebody who just died.
Yeah. He camouflaged himself as a boy kisser.
Mox searching for firewood.
Girl kisser.
Medic receives an
Y'all are
explosive
boy
from an
kissers.
unknown
Ooh.
officer. Ava camouflages from
Yeah, we got a bush camper on site. I repeat, we got a bush
On
camper on
site.
site.
Acidic
Acid rain,
rain
I'm-
pours down in the
Boy
arena.
kisser's hiding away in
That's
the bush.
crazy.
Lamau.
Uh-oh.
We're all dead.
Crazy
Marcus
Lamau, I
survives.
almost laughed.
Medic is unable to find
No,
shelter.
medic.
Please let me live. Please let me live. Please let me live.
Please.
Ben
train the
injures
dog.
Knack and leaves him in the rain to die.
Wow, Ben, you're a bad
Oh.
person, bro.
Ben.
Bro, that is so cringe.
Ava survives.
What is wrong with you?
Mox survives. Cruz
Let's
survives.
go.
Danny survives. Damien injures Jamie and
Damien!
leaves her in the rain to
You get the
die.
kills.
Oh,
Dang.
jeez. My bad. My hand slipped.
No
Hey,
pro
Moby,
survives.
gonna do that on
Well,
purpose.
I'm
My
dead,
hand
so
slipped.
obviously I
Not my
can't do
fault.
this anymore.
Should have simply
Just
gotten
kidding.
We're
No
done,
pro
guys.
survives.
survived.
Decent survives. Steamy trips face first
Oh
into
my
puddle
god,
of
Saucy.
LLL.
You
Oh.
like kissing boys, don't you?
His boy kissing
You like
face.
kissing
no.
boys.
seven cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Germa,
That's crazy.
Hoya, Jaden, Medic, Knack, Jamie, and Sashimi. Let's check up.
Damn.
Oh
That
my
sucks.
god.
Oh my god.
One
Dude, so
kill.
many of the districts are already gone.
Ben, you rat.
Ben,
Oh,
you
yeah.
gotta win for us.
No,
I got
it wasn't
3.
my fault, I swear.
I did pretty good.
You rat bastard. I will kill you.
Cruz.
I was once
We got
again
this.
useless.
Cruz, we
Ben,
got
you
this.
have to win for us.
Got this, Cruz.
I'll win for us, bro.
Ganny destroys Ava's supplies while she's
Wow.
asleep. These two are
Revenge.
wonder
like,
why. I wonder
Ah.
I wonder why.
No,
Decent
Rocky.
finds a tree to rest.
No.
Ben tries to sink himself
No,
to
not
sleep.
Cruz.
Because I
I'm
died.
losing my
Oh,
mind.
we're chilling. He's chilling.
Yo, Marcus and Cruz are like the
Damien
gatekeepers of
tends
this.
to her wounds.
Real.
Mox cooks his food before putting his fire
Watch
out.
Nopro die.
No pro didn't die.
No pro attempts to start a fire but is unsuccessful.
Elbozo.
Elbows
Jesus.
over.
Elbows.
Yep.
Ben strangles him with a rope.
Let's go, Ben.
Ben!
Wait,
Oh
okay,
my god,
so
that character is sweaty.
we're doing-
again.
Ben!
we're doing the feast again, so the cornucopia is replenished.
Let's go, Ben.
So then Ben strangles Decent with a rope. Ava and Damien get into a fight over raw meat, but Damien gives up and
Damien
runs
L.
away.
Shut the fuck up,
Ganny
Ben.
decides not to go.
My dog.
Mox decides not to go.
My
No
doggy.
pro
Literally,
and
it's
Cruz
just my
decide
thing.
to work together to get more supplies.
Lake Union.
Marcus decides not to go.
Lake Union, they don't even have jobs.
My dog.
Cruz receives an explosive.
Uh-oh.
No,
That's not good.
Cruz!
Let's go.
Ganny practices her archery. Ben runs away from No Pro. Mox tries
go,
to
Ben.
spear fish with a trident. Marcus
Aw,
tries
thanks,
to
Oh,
Marcus.
that's so
Fear
nice.
me, Ben.
Like 7 kills already. What? How don't already only like
Bro,
7 kills?
Nopro's
Hold up.
threatening you in the chat.
Oh, I
Rest
wonder
in
who killed
peace,
Decent.
Ed.
Hold up. I wonder who killed him. I wonder who
I
killed
wonder.
him.
I
No,
wonder who.
Cruz.
No,
we
he's
good.
okay. He's just tired, bro. Let him cook.
It's okay, he wins these.
He just passed
He was
out.
just a little.
Yeah, he wins
Fire
these.
stays hidden. Marcus, Ben, and
Damien
Mox
kills
sleep in
herself.
shifts.
Damien kills herself.
No.
You guys are bad people.
Other words, fuck the moon.
Winning mindset right there, though.
Other words.
So real.
No
Let
problem.
me kill myself.
Wait, why are there only
Bro,
like
I
7
want
people
some
left on? Being so
bloodshed.
serious.
Ben.
Oh,
Cruz practices
Shoot an
archery.
arrow through someone's head.
Ben scares Ava off.
Real. That is
Just
so
like
real.
in real
He
Zen
went-
fashion.
Yeah, that's like someone who like has 0 wins.
He does.
In real Zen
No
fashion.
Pro
he
makes a
scared
wooden
Ava.
spear. Damien, Ganny, and Mox hunt for the tributes.
Real.
Marcus searches for wood.
For real.
Someone's about to die.
No one
100%. Someone's 100%.
Watch it be Ben.
No Pro lets
Yeah,
Damien.
cuh.
Oh, thanks,
Oh my
bro.
god.
3v1.
Dog, 3v1.
Thanks,
She's a
bro.
powerhouse, bro.
Cruz
Yes,
runs
man.
Yo, Cruz has a
Danny's
double
gonna
Lake
be
Union?
able to, like, murder her.
Mox
No,
runs away from
W.
Ava. Ben fishes. Damien practices her archery.
Real.
Cruz,
Uh-oh.
Ganny, and No Pro hunt for other
Oh, no.
tributes.
Real Damien
Somebody
archery
died.
moment.
Oh.
Real.
Decides not to
Alright,
investigate.
something now is about to happen. Now
It's
something's about to
been 2
happen.
days
Now
ago to my
something's about to happen.
We
I
went
swear.
2 days.
Tomorrow.
No.
Police straps on a lamp.
Elbows out, elbows
No,
out,
no.
elbows out,
Cruz
elbows out.
destroys Ava's supplies while she's asleep.
Bro, she has nothing now.
Cannot catch a break. Damien, No Pro sleep in shifts. Ben bashes Mox's head
Oh
in.
my god.
Let's go, Ben.
No, bro, got my back.
Okay.
Christ,
Wow, Ben,
I
Jesus
don't know how
Christ.
cringe that is.
And then Marcus
Honestly, that's
quiets
in true Ben fashion over Mox.
I was going
True.
crazy.
Marcus and Ava split up to search for resources. Ben attempts to climb a tree but falls off.
So lame.
That is very cringe.
That's awesome.
I got them too late.
Me right now.
4 cannon
Someone
shots
take a
can be
screenshot of that, please. Someone
I took a
please
I already
take
did.
of that.
It's
I already
very
did.
crappy.
Danny. Well, this will all be on for like recorded, so.
Yeah, it'll be on the VOD, so you can grab it later.
Yeah.
All right, there's 4 left. No Pro is unable to start a fire and sleep without warmth.
Maybe hypothermia.
Cruz destroys Ava's supplies.
Hypothermia?
while-
Jesus Christ.
Ava has
Oh,
nothing.
that's
Bro, I
exactly.
can't believe you killed me.
Come on, Cruz, you win these.
Cruz wins these.
Cruz travels to higher ground.
Can we get much?
No
higher?
Pro and Ava. Oh,
Wow.
so you are hunting.
Can we ban this guy?
Oh, can
Yes.
we ban No Pro?
Bro,
Can we
that's
ban No
Cruz.
Pro? Oh, yeah,
Poor
rip
Mike.
Marcus.
Poor Marcus.
No Pro is awoken by nightmares.
Oh.
Ava begs for Cruz to kill her. He
Why didn't
refuses.
you?
He-
It's not a winning mindset.
Cruz, come on.
I'd say.
Win
He's
this
throwing.
fight.
He's throwing.
No
Win
Pro
this.
Throwing.
and runs away.
Jesus Christ, he actually wants to die. Holy crap.
Oh my
I
god.
do
How is.
Okay,
Come on, Cruz.
she doesn't die though.
Cruz
Uh-oh.
tries to
No,
kill
Ava.
Oh, she does die.
Ava dies.
Oh,
from
it does.
infection. No Pro dies.
Oh my god.
Cruz wins.
So
Most
basically,
uneventful
they
win
got into a
ever.
Cruz, win.
No Pro got second twice in a row.
You didn't kill anything.
Cruz
You
won.
won with skull shots.
You
Yeah.
didn't get any
Go kill
kills?
that game?
Like Leon, they don't
Please
even
Please tell
have
me you
jobs.
won without getting a kill. Please tell me.
He's the pacifist.
Let's
Oh,
go.
Is he?
Cruz
No
won.
way.
That's actually really
You won
good.
with
Killed
killing
no
anyone.
one.
That's
Wait,
crazy.
hold on. How many people did I kill? I killed like 6 million.
You focused
okay.
on the union.
killed
that's why
you
didn't-
and
that's why you
Damien.
didn't kill him.
Hold on,
I
I
got
actually
3.
want to see how many kills I got. That was actually pretty, bro. I don't know why I was killing so many
Wait.
people.
Oh,
Ben,
we both went kind of
killed
crazy.
me.
How much did I get?
Does the
You
suicide
bad
count as a
guy.
kill?
Killed me.
No.
Maybe.
Curb, are you telling
Guys,
me
I'm crazy.
you get a confirmed kill when you kill yourself? No. That's not how
I have-
KD works.
Yeah, it
I
is.
have one.
Yeah, it is.
You just
It
go
goes
even.
to-
I mean,
Run it
no,
back.
technically, just go
Run it
even.
back. His
That's what
KD
the
is not-
A- that's what the
his
A is
KD
for.
0, but gotta win.
We all down for one more?
Yeah, we
One
all
more.
sure.
Run it
Yeah.
back. This time No Pro has to win.
Yeah, that's
Nah,
true.
I'm winning this. I'm winning
One more.
He has to
time.
win. I hope Conrad wins though.
Jaden
I
dies
really
frame
do.
1.
What?
Possibly.
I swear it's true.
Man, he has to win. I hope Conrad
Oh
wins.
wow.
Dude,
Oh
almost
my
caught.
god. Koya died
The
frame
second
one.
time he died
Koya.
first.
Lake
Imagine-
Union dub. It's so
Imagine
true.
Curbs. Imagine Curb to be like he's his teammate, and then he just dunked into a lake and died.
I dunked him.
You're
Oh,
the one
okay.
who did it.
I
secretly.
dunked him.
Get dunked
I
on,
got
I
a
guess.
kill.
I
Mouse
don't
runs
know.
away. LTG runs away.
Uh-oh.
Curb
Let's
runs
go,
away.
the homies.
Says, "Man,
Yo, that's so
support
good.
Guys, I'm there in
That's crazy.
spirit. Trust
and
me.
runs away.
Let's go,
Marcus
Ben.
runs away.
You're the tree.
Runs away.
Yeah.
Jericho grabs
You
back
actually killed
On
Ben and
monkey.
Damien.
away. Run away. Run away.
Who said my
No,
name?
Conrad and Akira run away to get as many
I wasn't
supplies.
listening.
Work together to get as many supplies as possible. Blah, blah, blah. Decent gets a lighter and some rope. Jaden rips a mace out of Jamie's hand.
he wants to
Ian
win, bro.
receives a trident from inside.
Yeah, baby.
Knack
That's what we
rips
ladies
Dude.
for.
W. I stole the mace from Jamie.
Danny
Look
gathers
at-
as much food as she can. Sashimi runs away.
Tired boy kisser
It's
goes
like
so
that boy
hard.
kisser he is.
So much
Oh my god.
The boy kissing in question.
That reminds me
Oh
of
my
one
God.
speech bubble Sashimi has where it's like, I'm scared to get in a fight if they choke me.
Minecraft. That's crazy.
Today.
That's
Bro,
awesome.
LTG and Ben working together is crazy.
That is crazy.
Tries to sleep.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh, I thought I was
We're fine,
going
we're
to use the
fine, we're
mace.
fine.
I was so excited.
Jericho defeats Knack in a fight but spares his life.
Fuck you, Jaden.
Yeah, Jaden. I mean,
Yeah,
no,
Jaden.
You're just
Fuck
an
Fuck
elder.
you, you
So
ass
Don't be so
sucker.
weak-willed.
No Pro and
Damien,
Kerb will
it's your
Yo,
fault
the
for being
boys.
weak-willed.
Oh
my
wow.
God, Jamie.
You fucked up.
Lake Union?
I've been doing good.
Stop
I've
being
been
boy
doing good
kissers, oh my
until now,
gosh.
okay?
Dang. All right, Jamie, I see you.
I've been
doing
doing
Cruz receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Ava receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Decent receives medical supplies. Rune falls into a pit.
Oh
and
my
dies.
god, Rune fell into a pit and died.
Manny chooses
Bro,
Cornline.
how?
Medic discovers a river. 4 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, Lamau, Rune died.
Why'd I just hear a munch?
Not Rune.
Hey,
He returns
hey.
wounds. Ava spares.
Oh my god.
Spears. Different word.
Oh,
Very
I
different
thought
word.
what? I thought it was spears. Spears. How dare you, Jamie?
Yes, he spares Jaden's abdomen.
Do I kill? Oh. I
Jamie
don't-
Err.
Oh, that's
Dang.
no.
Oh no.
Dog, how?
Fire.
This would definitely be easier. if I-
Pyromaniac, guys.
What the heck?
Oh.
Lake Union L.
No,
Oh my
what?
god.
Lake Lunion.
Unbased.
OTG and Ganon huddle for one.
I'm gonna kill him.
What?
Oh my
Uh-oh.
god.
For help.
Uh-oh.
Oh my
Uh-oh.
goodness.
It's a raid. It's
Okay,
a
we're
raid.
fine,
I
we're
listen
fine,
to
we're
these
fine.
gifs.
Oh, no raid. No raid.
Okay,
Like how there's
thank God,
always,
thank God.
whenever someone sees 5, we're always like, oh god, is it an explosion?
Yeah.
Jericho
Yeah.
questions
Bro,
his
remember
sanity.
that one time when someone when
Bro, we're
that
talking
one
about the
curve
same
killed
tribute
like
together.
5 people?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that
it
was
was
crazy.
Yeah, the NPC curve.
Yeah, the NPC curve.
What do you mean? The NPC curve doesn't exist. He didn't win in Just Act Natural. It was me.
Yeah, you're right, bro.
She broke his
Oh my
ankle.
Grabs
God.
his ankle while pulling away from
called me
him.
Oh.
Manny thinks about
called
home.
me a
LG
Trust him up. Trust him up.
Goes
Yeah,
hunting
No
for
I'm
victims.
dead. I'm not
Yeah, let's
surviving
scare
that
Knack
spear. I was
On
not
that.
Sashimi
spared.
begs for Jericho to kill him. There's a lot of begging for death and refusal.
I
Yo,
would probably beg.
They're following
I'm
LTG's advice.
crazy.
Conrad with a hatchet. So
Then
scary.
receives
Ow.
I'd beg
Yeah.
regardless.
Herb sees
I'm
smoke but
100%
decides not to
dead.
You're
investigate.
so
Ava
Oh
rude.
my
attempts
god.
to climb a tree but falls to her death. That's how I
Oh, that's
died the
crazy.
first time.
Dude,
Danny
I'm
stops
Ben
so
would have
Joel.
climbed
dead.
that tree successfully.
Owie.
Just saying.
Why are their facial expressions so similar?
Oh my. Oh my.
Female
They
German
really
though?
are.
Kissers.
True,
Ooh.
true.
She's kind of
I'm
female
so
German
dead.
actually.
Mox tries to sleep through the whole day. Akira constructs a shack.
Yeah.
What do you
Decent
mean,
tries to
female
Let's go.
Germa?
I dropped the blunt of my
Grant.
balls.
No, Jaden.
No.
Oh,
You gotta live
Lake
with
Lunion. Lake Lunion.
Bad context. Bad
Oh my
context.
Lake Lunion.
Bang. Bang.
Hey yo.
Bang.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Mox, Vanny, and Jericho cheerfully sing
Benny's
songs.
Dan.
I am that guy.
W.
Herb and No Pro discuss the games, what might happen in the morning.
Damien kills yourself. Oh.
Medical supplies.
Ass bugger.
LTG sees fire.
Can we ban this guy?
Singers. Knack
What?
convinces Sashimi to snuggle with him.
Boy, kiss the Hiller.
Hey.
Okay.
Hey,
This is-
yo.
Snuggle with the boy kisser.
Germa and Medic fight Akira and Conrad. Akira and Conrad survive.
The
meaning
Conrad.
that
Medic.
died.
Screw Akira, but you know, Conrad, as long as he lives.
Wow. Okay.
I can
Thanks.
understand.
Oh, hi, Curve.
That's great.
Bro, what is with Damon and Curve?
Let's go, Jericho.
Himself in the bushes.
Camouflage.
Yeah, I
He
don't know.
himself. Dav descending to Akira hunt.
That would
No.
not.
Home.
I hope no pro gets evicted.
Wait,
Ben
Ben
would
stops
stop
Vanny.
Ben
Ben
would
Bro's a
stops
boy
stop.
Vanny.
kisser. Bro's a boy kisser.
Honestly,
Boy
kind of
kisser, boy kisser.
though.
Ben looks
I
like
can
a
imagine that.
dog.
Next is
True.
Vanny attacks Conlag, but LT lets him kill Vanny.
Screenshot
Oh, no.
that curve, please. Screenshot.
Oh
my
Let me know when you
god.
got
Jeez.
LCG's first kill. This is the
Ellis
first
Gaming.
kill.
LTG's first kill.
LCG's first kill. You should kill yourself now. My voice has gotten lower. I don't like this.
Damon's gonna die, bro. I swear.
No, but I'm dying IRL.
Yep.
Crazy.
Thinks about home.
I hope you get a
Brandon.
decent
Understandable.
I was crazy
Oh,
once.
that's a lot of
Only in a
people.
room, a rubber room.
Damon
Rubber
died.
room.
Oh, okay.
That's
Sleeping in
freaking crazy.
Shut
What's
the
crazy?
fuck up.
Just stop.
Jericho got an explosive.
Ass
Dang,
hat.
Damon's down.
You
It's
crazy,
screen zero.
crazy, Jeff.
But I'm not even paying attention to what's happening. I'm playing Skyblock.
Oh,
Nah,
Cringe.
not
It's
cute.
like-
This
Hey,
is
Black.
action.
I'm
What's
playing
Skyblock
Skyblock.
But I'm-
Makes a wooden
But I'm not
spear.
dead, and that's what's wild.
Dab
Real.
questions sanity. Damien no pro hunt for other tribute.
Curve made a
Vanny
spoon.
discovers a river. Mox thinks about home. Jericho sets an
What?
explosive.
You
By
better
killing
win.
Ben
Over
Nash.
you.
You guys are cringe. I'm
Big
multitasking.
boomer.
I'm even playing Skyblock. You guys suck.
Sashimi hunts for other tributes. Conrad fishes. Decent attacks LTG, but he manages to escape.
Let's go.
LG has battle scars.
Poor Ben.
Fuck you,
Unfortunate.
Ben. Fuck you,
the-
Ben. That's what you get.
That's the second time I've died to explosives.
Damon, shut up. You're gonna die tonight.
Oh,
and you're gonna kill yourself.
You know what? Fuck you. You're an ass hugger.
Kill yourself.
No.
That's good.
Ass hat.
Yes.
Donut fucker.
Ben.
Ben. Ben.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Aw.
Oh my god, I need this.
Hold
Decent
your
dive-
fire. This man isn't black.
He's so eepy, guys.
I'm so eepy.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
Okay.
GG's
You're
curbs
Mox.
on
He's in
that
the
shit.
ground,
Conrad
Ben.
and Vanny
Wait,
oh no.
successfully ambush
Oh,
and kill
dang.
Jericho,
Oh my
LTG,
god.
and Dav.
Damn.
Rip. Guys, my
Do I
triple kill
go
is for
myself?
nothing.
Damien collects fruit from a tree.
Oh,
She's gonna-
okay.
Yeah,
Curb
You should
scares
fall from the
Sashimi
tree.
off.
What the fuck? I'm shriveled up monkey's penis.
No pro constructs a
Be
ship.
quiet.
What?
Four
Four
cannon
No
shot.
post turning into wealthy curb.
For
Decent.
real.
Jericho, LTG, Dav, rest in peace. Curb receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Vanny attempts to climb a tree but falls
Oh
on no
my god.
both.
Oh,
Oh
that's
my.
crazy.
Then
Do I die?
Drop me there.
Do I die
Live
today?
reaction.
Live reaction.
Live
Drop me
Vanny
there.
reaction.
What the fuck?
Do I die today?
Might work. No reaction.
Mox, Damien, and
Oh my
Sashimi
god.
Oh my god.
Yeah!
Bro.
Oh my god.
Bro, what is with
So
Damien and like actually
stupid.
being good at killing
When is
people?
when was Damien this
No.
good?
Yeah, Damien clutching
Conrad
up.
receives a hatchet from an unknown
Damien clutching up / SRS.
Oh,
no.
shoot. The cornucopia is replenished with food, weapons, and memoirs.
Wait.
Oh, it's not.
Conrad,
It's just Curb and
and
Conrad.
Oh my
Let's
god.
go.
And
Let's
Conrad,
go.
Who will win? Who will
That's
come out on
cringe. Bro,
top?
it's so cringe.
It's Conrad versus
I'm
Curb.
cheering for curb.
Insane.
Let's
I'm
go.
I'm cheering for
Curb.
Conrad,
Actually.
honestly.
Come on,
Curb
Curb.
shoots an arrow.
Let's go. Let's go.
Curb wins.
Bro,
Let's
he's
go. Wow, 6 people.
Guys,
There we
my
go.
Minecraft playing was to no avail.
Crazy.
I'm like a
Curb won.
six
How many
kills.
kills did I get? Let me
Look
see.
at Conrad. Look at
Oh my
Conrad.
god.
Bro's a killer.
God damn.
Calm down, bro.
Holy crap.
Calm
Okay.
down, Conrad. Damn.
Okay, yeah, this was a rough one.
Yeah.
A violent one. It was quicker.
Yeah, it was only night 6.
Bro, why do I keep dying to
It ended like
explosives?
day 6. Now it was ended like shot.
Yeah, Nex just keeps on getting blown up. Anyway, so
My
that was
main goal
fun.
is to blow up.
That was
That
a
was
lot of
fun.
fun.
My
That's-
main
Yeah.
goal is blow up.
Thank
and
you for
I
doing
don't
this.
know
My
how
Very
main
to-
goal in
fun.
life is the blow.
Yeah, of course. No, I love doing this so much. It's one of my favorite things to do in
Man,
servers.
I ain't
Let me
never
just
seen
stop
two pretty
streaming.
best friends.
It's such a
Stop
cool
fucking doing it.
GG's.
One,
GG's.
two, three, four.
GG's.
That was a lot of fun.
GG
Cringe.
easy. I have
GG.
never
Once-
lost.
Once it's been enough time and
I'm
we
so
can
glad
like
you died
let it
before he
happen,
died.
then we can do it again, and it'll be funny again.
Oh, fair,
You know.
fair.
Sounds good to me.
And then, like, okay, well,
Bye bye, guys.
Oh,
I
there's-
hope you guys
I didn't
have a
even
nice
know.
night.
I didn't even know there was a chat.
Have a good night.
Bro.
Oh, Curb,
Bye.
stop talking.
Herb,
I
I'm
didn't
leaving
even
a
notice.
dislike on your
Stop
stream. You suck.
Kind of
It's okay,
cringe.
Curb was covering.
Kind of
it.
cringe.
Well,
It's all cringe, guys.
ring.
Honestly, shut up.
Honestly,
Got him.
Honestly,
swallow.
You guys are weird.
donut fucker.
You just realized.
Actually, I'm playing Minecraft, so
I love this
Alright.
emoji so much.
Alright, yeah, but GG's. This was fun. Good night, guys.